Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Married with Media podcast. I am your host, Michelle.
And I'm Ken. Yes, welcome, welcome. We are here today to what are we talking about today?
Well, I think this is gonna be a super chill
Yeah.
podcast episode. I think you had kind of brought up a topic that we could just, what do you call? Yap about.
Yeah.
Do some yapping about.
We'll do some
What's
yapping.
that topic?
We'll do some waffling maybe.
What's that
We can do
topic?
that as well. Are newer movies not good? That's what I want to talk
We
about
said
today.
are, like O-U-R.
Are older movies better than newer movies? I feel like that's kind of a big topic right now with people. Are movies back then better than movies now?
Well, also, I think what kind of inspired you was it feels like lately, and I feel like we talked about this in our last episode, just kind of feeling a little defeated, ran down, discouraged, whatever. Because
Yeah.
it feels like we've been watching some, just mid movies, if you will, or just okay or whatever. And, in this world of movies and TV and everything, it almost feels like you have to be super divisive for
Yeah.
anybody to care. You have to like absolutely love it or you have to absolutely hate it. And, it's just kind of boring to be about it. And it feels like there's been a lot of those lately for us. And so
Also, people will take our as being like negative because we got a comment recently on our Wicked review where they're like, "You guys are negative all the time."
well, I feel like we've gotten a few.
Yeah.
Not just that one. Well, that comment got like 5 likes. So, obviously some people are agreeing. So yeah, I mean, it is.
At least they didn't get 100 likes. I'll get comments like, "You're the worst, Ken. I hate you." 150 likes.
Well, our channel's not as big as yours, so. But yeah, to me, 5 likes is a lot.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to hear that but nobody wants to hear that you're like super negative on everything and don't like anything. Like, back in the day that used to annoy me about you. I feel like I used to be more easily entertained with movies, if you will, and I feel like I liked more stuff maybe. And it's just changed as I've gotten older and maybe watched more stuff or whatever. But anyway, we would used to go see things and we'd come out of the movie and I'd be like, that was great, that was good, whatever. And, easy to please. And you would be like, and it would be just so frustrating.
I've always been like this since before the channel.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just kind of interesting, when we're talking about movies and stuff and what some people love and what some people were just okay about. I mean, that's just what movies are, though. Like,
yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of really good movies being made, right now. But I just feel like we're in a time right now, very specifically, the early part of this year, and I don't think we've seen anything that I would say is even like good so far this year. Maybe okay, but I don't know if I would say anything we've seen so far this year was good. But it also goes into like we have a movie channel, and it's like the current state of having a movie channel is you have to be like covering the new movies and stuff like that. And we're kind of at a divide because I just have a little interest in a lot of stuff that's coming out. And it's hard for me to get motivated to stay on top of this stuff because it's like, oh, another streaming movie. We just watched The Electric State. Mickey 17's in the theaters. It's like that doesn't look great to me. And I would just rather like watch older movies. I feel like, I talk about a lot of older movies on my channel. But it's like you can't watch the older movies and have a movie channel and expect it to grow, it feels like.
Right. I mean, there are so many movies out there. And so Yeah, it's always great to like go back and revisit these older movies. But I do feel like it's kind of almost irrelevant to talk
Yeah.
about older movies. Like nobody's going to be searching this like random movie from the 90s. Like they're going to be it like you said, it's all about the current stuff,
Yeah.
the new and upcoming. Like that's what people are talking about. That's what's going to get you traction and whatever. So, but me personally, I've always been, like you said, I've always been about the like new and everything,
Hmm.
the new.
You like the new
Um,
and the Flash.
I like the new, just because, you know, it stays like up to date with like quality and that kind of stuff. Because when you go back and watch some of the older stuff, like like some of it is definitely, you know, aged or dated or whatever. Like you can tell what time era that it's coming from, in my opinion. And, you know, some people have a taste for that, like you do, and some people don't necessarily vibe with it, or it just feels kind of corny or cheesy, and I just can't do it. Not all of it, but
Yeah.
some of it, you know. So anyway, I think it's definitely like a good topic for us to kind of like bounce off of each other because we are pretty divided on it.
Yeah,
You
we have
know,
different perspectives.
you like the older, I like the newer. Not to say that I don't, you know, not to say that we can't appreciate the other as well, like the new and the old.
Yeah,
But
I mean, there's several, smaller movies we watched recently. It's just that when we put out a review of a movie, it feels like standalone. We've been kind of negative recently.
yeah,
But we'll watch like a smaller movie like Dee Dee or Thelma, and we don't even do a review of it. But those end up being like my favorites,
yeah,
not the big budget spectacle, stuff that we get,
right,
or the ones that everybody else seems to love, and I just can't get on board with, like an Anora or
yeah.
something like that.
Well, I think,
Nosferatu, another example.
yeah. And I mean, a lot of those came out last year, technically, right?
Yeah, a lot of them did. It
Yeah,
just it just feels like we've seen a lot of these this year, so it's like I don't know. It felt very down as far as like movie watching for the past few months,
yeah.
as
I
far as
mean,
like newer movies.
I feel like I've been like more into the movies than you have been, or like more positive on them.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if I can agree with you when you say that we haven't watched anything good. Like, good to me is good, you know, like it doesn't, I don't know. Like, again, though, it's kind of like a little bit blurry or what's the word? Muddled.
well, when I said that, I did mean specifically 2025 movies.
Yeah,
Um,
like Wolfman,
Wolfman,
Wolfman.
kind of pregnant, which was fun. I still don't know if I would call that good.
Right.
Companion, did not enjoy that all that much.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, it's not like I would say it was bad though.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's just,
kind of liked, really, the one movie I kind of liked this year so far is a Marvel movie, which is weird
oh yeah, which I didn't get to
because I've
see,
been so
but
down on Marvel for like the past 5 years. But I
yeah.
actually liked Captain America: Brave New World, so that
Yeah.
may be the only movie.
Well, something that I think is kind of um I feel like something to consider is, and it kind of like scares me a little bit or like makes me just like a little uneasy about it. I feel like as we get more and more into like social media and just like, this sounds like super, I don't know the word, but as we get more into like social media and just like technology and like all this stuff being in our face all the time, especially, you know, like you said, as us being like movie reviewers and stuff like that, like being really into the movie community as opposed to just maybe like the normal, you know, person who watches movies here and there or whatever.
Yeah,
It makes me a little bit nervous because I'm like, are we becoming like too like desensitized to things now? Is it becoming like harder and harder to entertain us, to wow us, to really show us something? Like, is everything just starting to feel the same? I don't know. I feel like at one point these movies that we've seen, they might have been good to us.
Yeah.
So it's like, are we evolving in a negative way?
I feel like 100% social media and just being so tapped into everybody's reactions and behind the scenes stuff on all these movies
Yeah.
definitely affects my enjoyment of it, because I go into these films with like a preconceived notion of what it is based on everything that I've seen. And
Yeah.
we're sitting here talking about news stories, behind the scenes stuff, and the directors, and we know every single person that's going to be in a movie.
There's no
like 2 years
mystery.
before it comes out.
Right.
Then it comes out, and then there's another story that comes out, and people will be divided on it. It's almost like the conversation for these movies go in the direction of like everything but the movie themselves. And it's like you're expected to like this movie just because this guy made it, or it has this actress in it and she does this outside the movie,
or it has this message,
that's super important, and if it doesn't resonate with you, then you're a bad person or something like that. It's just the conversations seem to have evolved into being about everything other than the actual film itself.
Right. Which kind of like goes into like we're contributing to the problem.
Yeah.
Like us talking, like we're just another voice out there, another person in your ear that could be deterring. Is that the word? I feel like I'm always trying to find my words here.
Yeah.
Just like getting in your head before you even watch the movie. Like, I don't know, like we kind of talked about this before we hit record, but I kind of brought up are we taking movies too seriously? Like, do we have this like what's wrong with just like movies are art, right? Just like someone who paints a picture or who creates a little clay figure or something like that. Like, do we have to like break apart every little thing about it, or can we just like look at it, consume it, and be like, oh, that was nice, or that was good, or that took me out of the real world for an hour and a half, or 2-3 hours nowadays. I don't know. It's just like kind of I feel like unfortunate, honestly.
And I try to give the impression that, look, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to push it on you. I'm just like giving you my thoughts.
Yeah.
And a lot of that goes into like, well, what's the point of doing a review? Like, what's the point of the reviewer or the critic if not to, give out your opinion and influence you and let you know, hey, maybe you shouldn't check this one out in the theaters because it's not a very good movie, or this, and this.
Right.
But honestly, like, that's not the way I see it. We're just fans and we're having conversations about the movie. I don't care if you go see it or don't go see it. At the end of the day, I'm just telling you what my thoughts are on the film. So now there are those movies where I'll get very passionate and I'll say, like, yeah, you need to go see this movie because it's freaking awesome.
Right.
But it's pretty rare nowadays for me to see a newer movie and feel that level of passion. But getting back to the old movie versus new movie, I talk about a lot of old movies on my channel, stuff I'm just now discovering that could be like 50, 60 years old. And I'll always feel like passionate, about, or not always, but like often I'll feel very passionate about like certain movies I watch, and I'll like be excited to promote them and talk about them. And that doesn't happen as much with the newer stuff. And I don't know why exactly.
Well, I feel like with you, a big part of it is like you're longing for nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
I'm also, and I'll admit this, I'm a bit of a contrarian, because if everybody's saying this movie's great and I need to see it, I'll be like, no way it's that good. So I'll go into it with this idea in my head. If I'm built up like too much on how good a movie is, more than likely I'm not going to enjoy it like I should.
Yeah.
But if I hear nothing about it, and oftentimes that's the case with some of these films, I just like pop in randomly. And I'm like, oh man, I was blown away by this.
Right. Like, I just wonder.
Because those movies from back 50, 60 years ago, they're removed from the hype train. There's no
Right.
hype around them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I wonder what it would be like to even have a new movie, which it's pretty much impossible nowadays. But let's just say that we have a new movie coming out, and we don't have any, like, we just know the title or the poster or something, and that's it. And it's like, would we maybe come out more high on that movie having no, like, people in our ear, or having no information about it, being the plot or the spoilers, or just people what they thought about it? Like, would we enjoy movies more without people like us?
Well, I mean, go back to
Because like you said,
2012.
the older movies, you're not having people out there talking about it.
If you go back to the 2000s and the early 2010s, see, I didn't get on social media at all back in the day. I didn't.
Right.
I got on Facebook a little bit, but I didn't even get Facebook until 2010. I didn't get Instagram until 2014, and I didn't even know people were talking about movies on YouTube.
Right.
Until The Force Awakens came out. Like, that's when I started watching like movie critics and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
For that, like, I would get my information from like local reviewers in the newspaper. Like, that's all I would know about a movie before it came out.
Or maybe like a website.
Or a website or something like that. Yeah, I used to get on this website called like 411 maybe. Yeah, but that was a lot of wrestling stuff. But they also did movies as well. So I wasn't in the world at all. And we went to go see like several movies I didn't know anything about. And some of them I would be like shocked at how much I enjoyed them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like going to see Cabin in the Woods. We didn't know anything about the movie. And I was just like blown away by it. Because I thought it was just going to be this like generic Evil Dead knockoff type movie, and it just turned into something completely different. I had no knowledge of it. I feel like nowadays we would know everything about the movie before we even saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It kind of just makes me question like everything about it. Like, is it the movie's fault,
Yeah.
Or is it our society? Like,
yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. I do feel like a little bit of the movie making craftsmanship is gone. Not gone totally. Like, you still see it with films like Nosferatu, but
well, it seems like maybe there's different priorities now when it comes to making a movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I know people say that politics have always been in movies, and that's true. But like, I don't know, do you feel like
they were able to blend politics in with like story and character a lot better back then? I feel like politics have always been there, but nowadays it feels like politics will take center stage, and it'll be like so blatant and in your face that you can't even escape into the story and get lost into it without it being like constantly, hitting you over the head with whatever message they're trying to spew at you.
Well, it's like, do you think that it was like more simple to make a movie back in the day? Now you've got all this, obviously there were still like, I don't know, I guess you would say maybe there could have been more work involved back in the day, like with special effects and stuff, like, more like hands-on things. But then, not knowing anything about how to make a movie, like, I'm sure special effects stuff is complicated.
I think they shot on location a lot more. I think they built their own sets a lot more. They definitely didn't utilize green screen as much. Like, you see movie sets now, like green screen everywhere. Like, the Marvel movies are all like green screen with them in costume and stuff. So,
well, it's like, do you think maybe like
it's all digital
the people
effects
involved, was their like heart and soul more into it back then than now?
I think so. And I also
because now it's like this like this assembly line. It's like pumping it out, and nobody can like really get.
Well, that's the big problem. I think I have with it, but a lot of people have with it, and a lot of people have been talking about this, is that it does feel very much just like a product just being dumped out there on these streaming services like Netflix, especially like the Electric State. It's just manufactured for a specific audience.
Mm-hmm.
Put these two actors in it that are popular, and their respective fields, Stranger Things, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Because I mean, they like that is a fact, right? They are making way more movies than they used to, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah,
Netflix has like 100 movies that come out a week. It's just you only hear about 2 of them.
yeah. So
TV
it's like,
shows.
do we have? I mean, we do. We have too many options. Like there's just there's too many movies. Like
Yeah.
and there's
And
so
it's all
many that are
being
probably really great that just like fall in the cracks because we're being so like some bigger movies with the bigger budgets, they can afford to just like throw that in their face all day long, and so the other ones just, like I said, fall in the cracks maybe. And
yeah, I mean they're spending so much money now just on crap, it feels like in a lot of cases.
mhm,
And I think that a lot of it's just like studio ran and just studio driven. And a lot of these decisions, even when it comes to like story and characters, are being made by like studio execs that have no knowledge of this stuff. They have no experience in this. Like a lot of
mhm,
people in the studio executive business nowadays, like they don't even come from a background in movies.
right,
And it's like back in the 70s and 80s, even going back to the early days, 40s, 50s, 60s, like the people that were in the movie biz, they knew about movies. Like they had made movies or they acted in movies, been involved in some way,
right,
even at the highest level. Like they would move up to those levels coming from like working on movies.
right,
And now it's not really that.
right,
It's just a bunch of executives that may come from other fields, like
right. Like it's
maybe
more,
a guy comes from the car business because he's a
yeah, it's just
businessman, he's going to move into the movie business. And they have
right.
no knowledge of
It's just
movies.
about a business,
And they're making these like high up decisions.
right?
And also like filmmakers, they just aren't allowed to um, be creative like they were in the
Mhm.
same way. They're not given the same creative freedom. I don't feel like that they were back in the day.
Yeah,
Like the studios would trust, hey, we're going to give you this much money and you've done this before and you've done that. We're going to trust that you're going to do that again with this amount of money that we're giving you.
right.
And I don't feel like there's that level of trust now
Mhm.
with some of these filmmakers.
Yeah,
And also, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with like indie filmmakers, them just like plucking people that have made like 1 or 2 indie films for A24,
mhm.
and then now they're going to make a big budget action blockbuster. And I
Yeah.
just don't feel like that always like translates. So,
Well, it's always about connections. So,
yeah.
they
Sometimes it works. Ryan Coogler kind of moved up, Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther. All those are solid movies.
mm.
Sometimes it can work, but
Kind of going off of that, do you feel like, I feel like we may have talked about this before too on a live stream or something, but do you feel like going into like technology and social media and all that, do you feel like um our attention spans are affecting how we enjoy movies as well?
I mean, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I have to put my phone in another room. Like it cannot be with me. Like
Yeah.
if I truly want to lock into a movie, it has to be gone.
Right.
It has to be gone. It
Which
can't be
is,
sitting next to me and with you texting me. It's too loud.
yeah.
And
Well, fair.
that's why sometimes it's like I texted you 3 times and you didn't. I was like, because I left my phone upstairs
Yeah.
because I really wanted to get into this movie
Right.
and I can't have my phone around. Can't.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, obviously that's a personal problem. Maybe some people don't struggle with that, but I do feel like a lot of people do. Um, I've heard people say like it is an accomplishment if I can go through a whole movie without checking my phone.
If you have some kind of like social media thing, business, YouTube channel, like it's sick. Like
It
I
is.
feel like I'm just broken as a human being.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, because it's like you're always checking analytics. How many views does this have? How many likes does this have? Like that kind of stupid stuff.
Well, even taking out the like business side of it, content creator side of it, like even just being a normal person, um, which we have our channel obviously, but I don't. It's not. I'm not posting and like we're not throwing out content as much as you are. So I feel like I can come more from like the just regular person on social media kind of thing. And I
It's
mean,
hard for
even
me to
then,
remember. I didn't go that long as a regular person with a social media account before I started my own thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, even just me being a regular consumer, if you will, or more of a regular consumer, like, it's still hard for even me to not pick it up or whatever. Um, and it's just like people are always like trying to uh post about what they're doing, what they're watching, and it's like they'll literally be in the middle of watching it, and it's like, how can I even take your opinion seriously when you're not even like completely invested in the movie? Like, the movie is still playing and you're checking your phone. You're maybe missing like key points. There's so many times where like we're both guilty of doing it, but maybe we do it at different points in the movie. And so there's times where you'll have missed a part of the movie and you'll have a question about something, and I'm like, yeah, didn't you see this happened? And it could have been like when you checked your phone or something, and vice versa. So um, I do think that it's just like this horrible, horrible problem.
I will say it's a lot easier to watch a movie with you because I don't usually ever look at my phone when we watch a movie together.
Yeah, because of judgment.
Because you judge me hard, but also we have a higher rate of not watching great movies because we're always
Well,
watching these streaming movies.
Me personally, you
So
watch
it's like I pay full attention to these like streaming films
Mhm.
with no like
Well,
artistic value or merit.
you want our situation's like a little bit different because you have to watch a lot of movies by yourself, and then we also watch stuff together, a lot of stuff together. And so I personally enjoy watching things together more than alone.
Oh,
Like,
I would as well. Like if you would
I know,
get on board and watch some of the stuff I watch.
but I'm just saying, I guess it helps me a little bit. Like, obviously, you said that when you're watching stuff alone, you put your phone upstairs or whatever. I don't really watch a lot of stuff as far as movies go by myself. So I don't really, I don't guess, have that problem as bad.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
even just like when I'm working, so like, I work from home and I'm working, obviously, it's just like, uh input kind of stuff. Like, I'm just like inputting stuff in the computer. I don't have to be on the phone or anything. So I'm like, I've constantly got stuff playing and I'm multitasking. And it's like, it's just like it's like we're in this world of just not giving anything our full undivided attention. Like, people, watching this right now, they probably have like the TV on, their phone going. It's almost like we just always have to have something in our face, in our ears, because we can't stand what's there at the core. Like, we can't stand the quiet. Like, nobody's used to the quiet anymore. And I know that's kind of going off on a tangent, but I mean, it's true. So I don't know. I think it's honestly, without getting like super depressing, I do think it is depressing.
Yeah.
to think about just like phone addiction, social media addiction, internet addiction, just like our inability to uh, just really like set in the moment of anything.
Yeah.
So
I agree. But taking it back to movies, movie side of things.
Let's rewind a little bit.
So it's tough. Like I said, there's a lot more movies coming out now than there was 30 years ago.
Oh, taking it back to like the big
old movies
our
versus
old
new
movies
movies.
that are, yeah.
I feel like this started with the pandemic, honestly. I mean, ever since 2020, I don't even like, I don't know. It's just like I look at like certain years and I couldn't even tell you what came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so lost with movies now. Like I used to be really good about I can with like movies from 2019 and below, and be like, oh, this movie came out this year. This movie came out this year. Everything just feels like such a jumbled mess of movies that have been exclusive to this streaming service and that streaming service and theaters and now on this streaming service.
Yeah.
What came out on physical media and what didn't come out on physical media. And it's just a complete mess of just nonsense, it feels like, and noise that's coming out. And I can't even remember all these films because it feels like the streaming services and the studios are just treating this stuff like it's disposable content. And they don't care if it lasts forever. Like movies that were made back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and before felt like the people that were making them wanted them to last. They built them to last forever and to remain important forever.
But
people don't seem to care about that now. Not everybody. Some people do. But Christopher Nolan does.
Does it work out that way though because of the time that we're in? Does it just so happen that these older movies seem better or whatever to you because now we're in a time of, we're experiencing, we talked about how, isn't it weird how we're alive during this point in time, So like we essentially saw the creation or the explosion of no technology to technology everywhere kind of thing, So it's like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
we grew up, we matured as technology matured.
Yeah, so it's like, does it just?
But so did everybody else. Every other generation did. It was just in a different way. Like, there
but
were
you're
people
talking about how they made those movies to last.
There were people that grew up and there were no cars, and then by the time they were a certain age, there were cars. So people have always experienced advancing technology throughout their lives.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I just like for me, like there's no doubt that they still make great movies. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen them.
But it just feels like so they get forgot about way too quickly.
Well, okay, so going off of that, like that is how that's what they want. They want us, I mean, that's literally like what social media is. It's all about this like short form content, that like quick hit of dopamine that just makes you come back for more. That's what it is. It's, like think about all of the little reels and shorts that you make. Somebody watches that for the 60 seconds or whatever it is, and they're never going to think about it again. And you have to think of another one to put out, and another one, and another one, and another one. And that's essentially what they're doing with all these streaming movies. They put it out. They don't care. They know that somebody's going to watch it. Enough people are going to watch it.
Point.
I know.
That's exactly my point. They're treating movies like they are TikTok shorts.
Yes, I know. But I'm saying it wasn't like that back in the day because we didn't have the technology that we do today. So it's like.
But that has nothing to do with the argument. Or were new movies better? Or new movies better? Or old movies better?
Well, I'm saying though. I see what you're saying.
I'm not talking about the circumstances surrounding
but it's not
the whys in the house or the excuses. Yeah. But I'm just talking about were they better than they are now?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. But like, I guess I'm just saying that we know that they're still capable of making good movies.
They are, and most of them come from the independents. It's the Neons and the A24s. Like they're the ones that are making the more interesting films. But even those movies to a certain extent start to feel like content churning out. Like A24 today is not the same A24 from 8 years ago. They're very branded. They have their own website. They're doing their own like special editions. They've got merchandise. Like you see the A24 logo come up. It feels like a big deal, like a thing. They got their trailers that they put out, 3, 4, 5 trailers before the movie comes out.
Right.
Posters. So they feel a lot bigger than they used to. And their movies are starting to feel a little bit more like a studio film than an independent film. Yeah. And Neon's getting that way too.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely very interesting. I mean,
We've had good movies. Top Gun Maverick, I thought was a great movie. Just a great action, fun for everybody, blockbuster film.
mhm.
Um,
I had some problems with it. I felt like it was a
you're
little.
gonna have problems with everything.
I know it felt a little, copy and paste.
But it was a crowd pleaser. It was essentially a remake of Star Wars: A New Hope, is what it was.
But I don't understand, people have all these problems with like remakes and stuff, and you are one of them. And I just don't understand how you don't see that that movie was a little bit of a money grab. Like it was very copy paste. Like,
I don't know if they expected it to make as much as it did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like I see both sides for sure. I think that it's our fault as consumers as well, because we are so like programmed now to just consume. We're still watching this stuff, so they're still putting it out, and we're still paying for it. The streaming services, this and that. Um, as we've talked about several times before, about the theater dying and stuff like that. People are staying home more. People are becoming more hermit crabs, so they're getting all the streaming services. And so yeah, these companies are going to be putting a shit ton of streaming movies out because people are staying home and streaming.
Yeah.
And so
it is on the people.
It's our fault as consumers
and
as
also
well.
as to the type of movies that we're getting, because we got a lot more original stuff in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and people would go see those movies. And nowadays they're choosing to only go out to see sequels and remakes and reboots and
But
movies inspired by comic books or video games or whatever.
Yeah. But there is literally, the good thing about movies is that there is a movie for everyone. There is a genre for everyone. There is there's something for everyone. And I think that at the end of the day, a movie is going to speak to someone based on the person personally, what they're going through, what they've gone through, life experience. We talked about this. I tend to just really resonate with those like slice of life movies, but I'm like very like in my feelings and like what's the word, like philosophical. Like I'm just always thinking about like life and the meaning of life, and I'm always thinking about time. And so like those slice of life movies always just like really resonate with me because they feel like personal, like I feel them in my soul.
Yeah.
And so, but I can still enjoy like.
But those are smaller films, and they have always made great films like that. And they're making great films like that now, and they will always make great films like that because they're low stakes. They don't cost too much to make.
Yeah.
And there's always an indie filmmaker out there with the perspective and a story to tell, personal life experiences. So you're always going to get movies like that. I don't ever think those type of movies are going to be hurt.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting too, though, because it's like, how can I say that this just like kind of mundane slice of life movie is better or entertained me more than this like big spectacle, that is different and like, you know what I mean?
Well, that happens all the time with me.
But again, it's personal, and so.
And that just goes into another problem with doing this and talking about movies. It's like when you put yourself out there like that, and it's like you have to worry about the opinion you're putting out there and how it's going to be received by other people, and just the judgment that's out there with people, and just on other people's opinions is insane. It's like, that movie's garbage, I hate it, how could you like that? How could you like Kinda Pregnant more than Nora? I mean, first off, I didn't say Kinda Pregnant was a better film than Nora.
Well, yeah, it's just
but I probably enjoyed it a little bit more. Yeah, doesn't make it a better one, just means I enjoyed it a little bit more.
Yeah, and like obviously that sounds weird or wrong, but again, you have to kind of think of it as, well, what kind of movie was it? What was the movie trying to do? Kinda Pregnant was just supposed to be this stupid, funny comedy.
Yeah.
Did it provide me with some laughs? Was it bearable to sit through? Yes and yes. So yeah, it kind of hit the spot, you know.
Nora, based on all the awards it just received, is supposed to be like one of the greatest films ever made.
And I, you know, I don't know. I feel like you kind of could consider, you know, Sean Baker, that's his name, right? He's been known for doing those like slice of life movies, which we like, and you know, we love the Florida Project. We've already talked about this, but like for Anora, you know, you could say, I guess, that it was kind of a slice of life movie a little bit, but it just didn't hit the, it just wasn't working for us. So anyway, I don't know. I think that you know, there were good movies back then. There are good movies now. I think that there will hopefully always be good movies. And at the end of the day, all you can do is watch the movie yourself. And if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you didn't. It's not personal. You don't have to hate someone over it. You don't have to, you know, judge someone over it. Even though that's what we do as humans, you know, we do judge people, and we do, you know, a movie that we hold very dear to our hearts. You know, if we hear someone doesn't like it, we're like, what? What's wrong with you?
Become personal, especially when you're a movie fan and you love this stuff as much as we do. Like, yeah, it can feel like you're attacking one of my kids or something when you say something bad.
Wow.
But I'm never gonna be like, you should die or something like that because somebody doesn't like it. I'll just be like, oh, that sucks. You don't like that movie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious to know why you don't. And if you tell me it's for a stupid reason, then I'll judge you for it. You know?
Wow. Well, I think, you know, at the end of the day, movies are, you know, they're a form of art, a form of entertainment, and you know, I think that we'll always probably be watching movies, and some we're gonna like, and some we're not gonna like, and some are gonna be okay, and some are gonna be terrible, and that's just how movies are.
I mean, I want to love every movie I watch. But at the same time, if you love every movie you watch, then it takes away from the specialness of when you watch that really great movie that just resonates with you as well.
It is kind of interesting, though, before we wrap this up, because I feel like we're wrapping it up, right?
We're wrapping up.
You know, if you think about it, like movies, you know, they're hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. And when you think about what you're giving up, like you're trading a good little chunk of your time to watch these movies. And there are a million other things that you could be doing, you know. But we choose to watch movies. So
yeah. And
I guess that's why it sucks more when you don't enjoy it, because it's like you're literally giving up a good chunk of, like, if we go back and look at how much time we've spent watching like movies and TV, like we're spending a lot of our life doing that. Like we're literally giving up precious life time. And so when you don't like it, it does kind of suck.
You just have to remember that every movie that you watch gives you some kind of perspective on another movie that you're going to watch. And there's always something to take away from a movie, even if you don't like it that much.
Yeah.
So if you just think of it that way, then, you know.
Yeah.
You know, there's maybe like 2 or 3 movies I've seen where I'm like, all right, that has nothing about you. I'm not taking anything from this at all. But it's rare.
Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion. Let us know. What do you guys think about all that? We appreciate you being here as always.
New movies or old movies? Let us know in the comment section below. And of course that changes like with time. You know, like what's a new movie, what's an old movie, like what's the criteria there?
Exactly.
But yeah, fun conversation.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we will talk to you real soon.
Yeah, see you all later.